And hello again from wjlive, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor at the Western Journal. Joining me on the show today, our regular co-host with me. I think we've essentially ended up being co-hosts on Wednesday.
I think we are, yes.
Joey Chester. He is head of distribution with a super fancy title that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Either.
So thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. A lot of stuff going on in the news. We want to focus today on a particularly pernicious lie floating around in the media echo chamber and leftist Twitter about the Buffalo shooter and about where his inspiration came from. Yesterday, if you're unfortunate enough to subscribe to the New York Times morning email, you would have gotten an email with a subject line that said something along the lines of the Buffalo shooter, how right-wing violence is increasing. Something like that. That wasn't it, but it was something similar. At least blaming it on the right wing was similar.
Do you want the actual
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it here. So they start off with good morning, of course.
It's always nice when people are polite before they insult you.
And then they say, the Buffalo killings are part of a pattern, most extremist violence in the U.S. comes from the political right.
There we go. Thank you, Joey.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone, after the attack, said that the Buffalo shooter was not a, quote, lone wolf. He was actually a mainstream Republican. Now, of course, the mainstream Republican Buffalo Shooters Manifesto says he's neither a conservative nor a believer in God nor a Christian. He's not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination. But the lie is circulating like crazy. And a sort of a lie nested inside that lie is the idea that this guy was driven to this essentially by Tucker Carlson or by Fox News, which is an unbelievably stupid assessment. And I hate to use as blunt a word as that, but it is. It is stupid. If you have watched Tucker Carlson at all, if you have watched him reference, the Great Replacement theory, what he is talking about, and Joey, I can't remember if you and I talked about this on the show or not. I feel like we did, but maybe we didn't. That might have been with Grant Monday. But when Tucker references it, he's not talking about race. He is talking about nationality. He's talking about Americans being replaced essentially by illegals.
That's what I've talked about.
I defy anyone to show me where Tucker Carlson has opined about the horror of whites being replaced by something other than whites. I don't think you're going to find it out there because it's not what he believes. Conservatives could not care less what color your skin is. What we do care about is, as Dr. King would have said, the content of your character. And we care about the ideologies that you carry. However, there have been people out there who have been fans of the Great Replacement theory and fans of it from a racial standpoint. Right, Joey?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Democrats have been talking about the Great Replacement theory on TV, in Congress, for decades. And President Joe Biden is one of those. And in fact, I think you were telling me earlier it was started by a Democrat senator in the 30s, right?
That is correct. I want to pull from an article on Stars and Stripes from Martha Hamilton and Aaron Weiner, hopefully Weiner. I'm going to read just a couple of graphs here for you guys to kind of set the stage. More than 70 years ago, a U.S. senator published a book warning of the same destruction of white civilization. Theodore G. Bilbo, a Democrat, had twice been governor of Mississippi before he served in the U.S. Senate, when, quote, the growing intolerance among many whites toward public racism and anti-Semitism, end quote, led to his fall, according to an account in the Journal of Mississippi History. An equal opportunity racist, he addressed some of his letters with slurs against Italians and Jews, with slurs against Italians and Jews depending on the recipient. but the bulk of his loathing and fear was reserved for black Americans, as spelled out in his 1947 book, Take Your Choice, Separation or Mongrelization. Mongrelization, that's a Democrat senator writing. So he literally wrote the book on the Great Replacement Theory, and Bilbo wasn't writing about the idea of leftist neo-Marxist replacing traditional Americans. He was writing because he was worried black people, or potentially Jews, or maybe even Italians, who I always think of as white.
Yes.
Would replace,
I'm Italian. I think of myself as white.
Yeah. Would replace white people. So that's the bigoted version of this. And there we got a lovely picture of Theodore Bilbo, the original Great Replacement Theory racist. Again, a Democrat senator.
Classic.
Just part of, it is classic. It is just part of the huge lie, Joey, that Democrats have always been on the side of blacks, of African Americans, of minorities, and it's just not true.
No, it's totally false. It might be, well, it's not even. It might be. It is, I think, one of the biggest political lies ever told.
Yeah, the Civil Rights Act, that was Richard Nixon.
Yep, opposed by Democrats.
Resistance to school segregation in the South, George Wallace, Democrat. Orville Faubus, Democrat. The South itself during the Civil War was dominated by Democrats. After that, for years and years, Democrats ran in opposition. It ran essentially on a racist platform.
I mean, no Democrat policies have done anything to help black people.
No, they've hurt just
black people.
devastated them. Devastated them. And I think it's got to be, sorry, just super quick.
You're fine,
I think it's
Josh.
got to be the Great Society and just essentially lies from the media that have affected this great bait and switch because Vice President from Nixon who took over, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Well, that's embarrassing. You know who I'm talking about. Essentially what, not FDR, he goes by initials though. Someone in the booth help me.
Is it,
for crying out loud.
Nixon.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. JFK's, not Nixon's. JFK's vice president who became president. Anyway, that's just so embarrassing. Anyway, he passed a slate of programs designed.
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Thank you, LBJ.
So, wow,
thank you.
Sorry.
No, my brain clicked out too. LBJ. He passed a slate of programs called the Great Society, and the idea behind that was to help deal with poverty and to help minorities essentially catch up. And what it did, and I think that's where Democrats kind of staked out this we're pro-minority lie. Which is truly not true. You begin to see it's at that point that you began to see black employment rates diverge from whites, black illegitimacy rates diverge from whites, et cetera, et cetera. Blacks were actually doing super well up until they were catching up until the 60s, and then they started just descending radically. Anyway, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to mention Joe Biden the other day was talking about how he missed when he could have lunch with segregationists. That's something. That's something the sitting U.S. president said. I just missed those days when I could have lunch with those Democrat segregationists.
And who was one of Hillary Clinton's mentors? Robert Byrd.
Yes. Yeah.
Robert Byrd, former KKK member. All right, so that sets the stage. Now, the narrative has been that the Great Replacement Theory, as advanced by Tucker Carlson, was responsible for all of this horror and hatred over the weekend in Buffalo. The problem, and the left has figured out, at least they hope that this is going to distract from the baby formula issue, that it's going to distract from gas prices, that it's going to distract from inflation, that it's going to distract from you're having to pay $16 for a tiny slice of not very good T-bone. They are hoping that that's what will work here. But I don't think it's going to. However, let's go to Grant. Russ, can you pull? I want to pull the Donnie Deutsch clip from MSNBC. I want to pull the first one, please. So this is what Donnie Deutsch had to say on Morning Joe.
Trying to make the country like browner and blacker. What's the best way for people to push back on that lie?
You take this heinous platform and you make the Republicans own it. I want to say it again. Make the Republicans own it. Every Republican politician, every Republican candidate, ask them about it. Make it because they can't run from it because it's part of who they are at this point, as disgusting as that is. But make it the Republican replacement theory. Mainstream it because this is the way you have to scare. We don't have the economy on our side as Democrats. So you have to scare the bejesus out of people. The way to scare it is say, this replacement theory, this is not just coming from some dark corner of the West.
So make us own it. That's the plan.
Oh, my goodness.
But, Joey, there seems to be a problem with that plan. You found it earlier today.
Yeah, we've got some pretty damning video, I would say, that totally disproves this idea that this is a theory that has come from Republicans. Should we play that video?
Yep.
Let's play the supercut of what Democrats have to say about the great replacement theory.
It seems harder and harder to ignore that the echoes of replacement theory and other racially motivated views are increasingly coming out into the open.
In a few years, we're going to be a majority brown country. White people will not be the majority in the country anymore.
This will be the first generation ever in American history in which whites will be a minority of the generation at some point.
As of 2007, every year, babies being born in this country, whites now are the minority.
In 2044, everyone is going to be a minority.
As the demographics change, as white people become the minority in the country, which is coming.
Demographics is destiny. Demographics is destiny.
Demographics is destiny, right? The country is changing.
I've been saying it here. Other people have been saying it here for years now, even before Donald Trump. The demographics is destiny.
The white population is declining for the first time in history in America, while the number of multiracial Americans have more than doubled.
So we live in a country where the demographics are changing. It's becoming less white.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll be announcing that we're calling the 38 electoral votes of Texas for the Democratic nominee for president. It's changing. It's going to become a purple state and then a blue state because of the demographics, because of the population growth.
The growth in Texas has been almost entirely driven by non-white population growth, mostly by Hispanic and Latino population growth.
The idea that, whites will not be the majority, I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country. It's an exciting evolution and progress of our country in many different ways.
The white population is declining. It was always on the upswing. So that speaks to the beautiful diversity of America. It speaks to how that population the demographics will weigh in politically.
I believe anybody who echoes the replacement is to blame. Not for this particular crime, but it's for no purpose except profit and or political benefit. And it's wrong.
I think we have another one of Joe Biden talking about it, too. Oh, we don't. Never mind. We don't have that.
Okay. So my favorite one of those is was from Castro, where he is straight up acknowledging the idea behind what the left is trying to do is turn red states purple and then turn them blue.
100%.
That has been the idea behind this. It is, and it is a replacement theory. I'm not positive their version is particularly racist either, though.
It's race. I think they hate
racial. White people. There are racial overtones to it, but I don't know. Do you think they're celebrating? Yeah, maybe that is true. Do you think they're celebrating the collapse of what they view as just whiteness?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this whole response to the shooting and to any shooting that a white person commits. The Democrats are obsessed with this idea of white supremacy in America. They desperately need and want white supremacy to be a real thing in America, and it's not a mainstream idea, especially not on the right. It's not a conservative idea by any means, not a Christian idea by any means. But I think we see in this video the left's obsession with literally hating white people. They see the white man, and I'm not advocating for for replacement theory.
Yeah.
Wanted like, oh, the danger of white people going away. But I think those videos do demonstrate the left hating the white population, and then they're saying, oh, well, we need to replace them with these other people because we want them to vote a certain way. Oh, and then when a tragedy happens that a white person commits, we can say it's white supremacy, and we can blame it on Fox News and Tucker Carlson and the political right. It is all politically motivated for them, and I think it is a form of racism, and I think it's a bit of anti-white racism.
Yeah, it's wildly dishonest too, the way they. I mean, I don't know how many times I've used the terms related to lie over the last few days because of this, but you have the narrative out there that the shooter, he's influenced by Fox News. Like, well, yeah, he was influenced by Fox News. If you go to his manifesto, he has a giant page condemning Fox News.
Hates them.
He was influenced by them. He was influenced to hate them by them. And there's only so much you can read into this nut job anyway, because he despised CNN, he despised the New York Times. This was a sick, resentful mind that had been filled with just hatred and animus. But you said no. Go ahead. Go. So you said something interesting a second ago. You were talking about white supremacy and the sort of vanishingly small number of actual white supremacists in the country. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we did.
So I think what the left is doing, what the media is doing, is incredibly dangerous because there are a lot of people on the edge just in general. There are people on the fringes of society. There are people who are struggling, trying to find their place, not sure where they fit. As the left continues to talk white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, it makes white supremacy appear to be some huge force in the United States. Yet the data don't really support that. When you look at FBI criminal data, you see that black-on-black crime is just massive. Black-on-white crime is then massive. And there is white-on-black crime as well. But this idea that there are armies of white people out there trying to hurt, maim, and kill minorities is just not true on any kind of scale whatsoever. But I think the more that the media talks about this, the more, let's see here, how to say this. I think the more energy the white supremacists who are out there, I think the more energy they will take from it. I think the more influential they will become, and the more people on the edges of society may be attracted to them. And after all, let's say that you're a poorly educated, exceedingly poor male in his 20s who hasn't really succeeded in life, has lost his way, is trying to figure something out, and all he hears is white is bad, white is bad, white is bad, white is evil, white is a sickness, whiteness must be obliterated, blah, 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 blah. That guy is just looking for something to be resentful about. And that's as good a thing as any, because his natural attribute, which is skin color, which is the freaking shallowest attribute possible.
Ridiculous. Means nothing.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
He's being called evil over it. So, yeah, he's looking for a club to join. He's ticked off. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's resentful. Man, there are a bunch of other guys over here in the same boat. I'm going to join up with them, and we will exact our revenge. And gosh, in the 90s, I mean, you just didn't see this. What this started to happen after, and Rush warned about this. He said when Obama took office, everything was going to become about race.
Yes.
Everything. That was such a boon to the Democrats because, for one, they could vote for Obama and feel like they were cleansing themselves of their whiteness and their white guilt. Oh, I voted for a black person for president. Look at what a non-racist, look at what we didn't have the term then, anti-racist person I am. And Democrat strategists knew, anything negative said about Obama, they would be able to spin as racist. And they did that. And look at the mess we are in now. And they continued it with Trump. Everything Trump did was racist. Unbelievably racist when he is, I mean, best we can tell, he's maybe the least racist president in history. So, I mean, Joey, I just look at what they're doing with all of the attention they're giving to an unbelievably tiny number of people. Tucker Carlson made the point, I don't think they would fit in a 5,000-person football stadium. They're giving all of this attention to them, and I think they're giving them an outsized voice and definitely an outsized attraction to people on the margins.
Yeah, I think the lie that Democrats, the left, the media is telling, I think it's actually evil. I think it's legitimately evil, and I think it will end up killing more people. I think the Democrats will have blood on their hands for this evil lie that they are telling. And I think when they tell this lie about white supremacy in America, when they talk about the great replacement theory, they're doing it because I think they are trying to stoke fear in people. I mean, the guy talked about it just on MSNBC.
Yeah, Donnie Deutsch.
We got to scare these people.
Do we have that second clip, Russ? From Deutsch?
No,
we don't. Okay.
And so what
you'll have to imagine that second clip like you have to imagine the first one.
Yes. What these people are doing is they're giving legitimacy to the fringe groups of people in the country. They're basically saying, "Oh yeah, we know you exist. Yeah, you do have outrage over these issues. It's not the right doing that. You don't see Tucker on TV. It's not conservatives doing it. It is the left that is trying to give legitimacy to white supremacy and fringe groups in the country. And if you think about it, it's really, really evil and dark when you think that when horrible tragedies like Buffalo happen, it benefits them politically. You know, remember when the Christmas parade massacre happened? Joe Biden didn't fly out there to visit the people. It didn't politically benefit him. Where was Joe Biden over the weekend or on Monday or yesterday? It was one of the days. He was in Buffalo because it politically motivated him. What did he do? He went on stage and he raged against white supremacy and conservatives in America. They love when tragedies like this happen. They love it. It feeds them. It feeds their political narrative, and that is evil. These are evil people. They are not good people. They want this to happen.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and the double standard is completely there. You and I were talking about this earlier. You know, there was a shooting at a church in California over the weekend, and it was a minority church. And a little bit of attention was paid to it, and then we found out who the shooter was and who the victims were. The victims were Taiwanese Christians, and the shooter was a Chinese man who resented the Taiwanese. I would bet dollars to donuts that Chinese intel was paying the guy. Could be wrong. But what's remarkable is that is within 24 hours, one attempted mass shooting and another an actual mass shooting, both related to communism.
Yeah.
The Chinese guy, undoubtedly a communist, and the Buffalo shooter in his manifesto said that he had been a communist in the past. He had been infatuated with communist ideology. Yet there is no talk of that in the media.
No.
That is something that's actually, other than the violence itself, that's the one thing that connects those two cases. And man, you better believe, folks, if that church had been a black church and the shooter had been white, the media would have been all over it. But since he was a communist and the victims weren't black, and essentially since the victims and the shooter were both minorities, the media left it alone. The exact same way they leave alone the unbelievably high rate of violence, of black-on-black violence.
Yeah.
These people are such incredible frauds. They sit there, and, I mean, God help us, what happened in Buffalo was horrible, horrible. People died. Innocent people died. I saw a picture. Before social media scrubbed all of it, I saw video and pictures. I saw a picture of a woman literally having her head blown off. It was horrific. But the media sits there and wrings their hands over this and ignores, I think last weekend 23 people were killed in Chicago, and I believe all of them were black.
Over 100 Americans were murdered over the last weekend, shot.
And the media hardly says boo about it.
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing. They're not calling out Lori Lightfoot. They're not calling out Lori Lightfoot for having her own personal police service. They're not calling out the left for wanting to defund police. What they're doing is they're trying to connect the Buffalo shooter with conservatives. And it is, I don't think it's going to work. The guy was a communist. The guy said on the political spectrum, he came out as a mild authoritarian leftist.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing, and we're going to have to wrap up before long, but I said this on Monday's show and I want to say it again. They're engaging in some sleight of hand here. So what they will do, what the media will do is say that there is leftism on this side. And that there's the left wing on this side and there's the right wing on this side, and these are Democrats and these are Republicans. Mm-hmm. That's not actually the way it works, folks. What it actually is leftism here, right wing kind of fascism here, and all the way over here is conservatism. Mm-hmm. Okay, these two things. Now they might be right to the extent that they're trying to link the guy to right wing European fascism. Fine, you can have that. That's not what the right wing in America is.
No.
And I've stopped even using the term because we are conservatives. Yep. We are over here. We are against all of the things this guy was for. This guy hated equality. We are for equality. This guy hated the idea of Christianity. Conservatism has traditionally been pretty friendly to Christianity. The guy liked authoritarianism. Conservatives are fiercely anti-authoritarian. So it is an unbelievably dishonest sleight of hand they're doing. They're hoping that when they say right wing, people are going to think conservative, people are going to think Republican, people are going to think Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But that's not what this guy is. This guy is the opposite. I read a chunk of the manifesto. There's not one thing in there that I saw that he shares in common with conservatives at all.
No.
It's just a complete lie.
It's truly like it actually almost makes me physically sick when I think about how the left and the media desperately want to use this tragedy to take down their political opponents. I mean, they tried tying it to January 6th and saying that this guy was partially inspired by that, which is just absolute insanity.
I don't remember any references.
Oh yeah, there was
I could be wrong.
In his?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think there was in the manifesto, but they were desperately trying to tie, those two acts together, which they're not even remotely the same. But it truly makes me almost sick when you come to the realization that it doesn't actually politically benefit Democrats to want to stop these acts of violence.
No, they
need them to keep happening.
They need
so that they can wield their all-out war on conservatives and quite frankly, just the general American population.
Well, that's been the sick thing about the left and about Democrats for years and years. They need the country to fail for them to do well. So you're right about leveraging it. You're right about the sickness behind this. Russ, I want to grab the Donnie Deutsch clip again because Deutsch is saying exactly what Joey's saying, only he's completely ignoring the wretched, sinful, evil part of it. Can we take that clip again, please?
Trying to make the country like browner and blacker. What's the best way for people to push back on that lie?
You take this heinous platform and you make the Republicans own it. I want to say it again. Make the Republicans own it. Every Republican politician, every Republican candidate, ask them about it. Make them, because they can't run from it because it's part of who they are at this point, as disgusting as that is. But make it the Republican replacement theory. Mainstream it, because this is the way you have to scare. We don't have the economy on our side as Democrats, so you have to scare the bejesus out of people. The way to scare it is say, this replacement theory, this is not just coming from some dark corner of the West.
There it is.
He's admitting that that the left has to scare people.
Yep.
away from the right. He totally
and
he's
saying they have to pin it
Yes.
to Republicans. The implication being that without them doing that, it's not going to be associated with Republicans, and that's true because the dirtbag wasn't a Republican.
No,
he wasn't a conservative.
It's sort of Tucker Carlson has the most watched cable news TV show, and so if he really believed in what this guy did, why are there not millions of people doing what this guy did? It's such a crackpot, idiotic, evil idea that he's pushing.
The last thing before we go, another guy in the newsroom floated a great point earlier today. One reason the left may be trying to classify these acts as acts of terrorism, which I don't think they actually fit the technical definition, but one reason they may be doing that is that then you get red flag laws involved.
Oh boy, that's a great point.
Yeah, once those are involved, then you're talking about being disarmed, you're talking about authorities showing up at your house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think these are actually acts of terrorism. They don't seem to be designed to inspire general fear that this could happen elsewhere. I don't remember seeing any notes about, this is going to begin happening all over America. Doesn't seem to be any of that. It's not designed to look particularly capricious, like it could happen anywhere. I mean, the guy picked a really specific target, and he told why. In fact, he said part of his strategy was going to be to pick a target in an area with gun control laws in place. So that's, again, Democrat policy helping the guy. And additionally, I don't think it's designed to implement any kind of political change. I don't think for a moment this tiny percentage of tiny number, I don't even think it's a whole percent.
No.
Tiny number of idiot white supremacists, I don't think they think they're going to affect any kind of political change. And that's got to be part of the goal for it to be terrorism. I think they're just resentful.
Yeah.
They're just filled with hate. And the easiest target for them is somebody who looks very different.
Yeah. And just one quick note, part of the reason he became the way that he did was because of Democrats' COVID lockdown policies. He was stuck inside, left to his own ideas, probably listening to these raging leftists on TV talking about great replacement and stoking fear.
Yeah.
And maybe he saw that, and then this happened.
Yeah,
but anyways, Democrats, their lockdown policies helped create him.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah. He said it started in May of 2020 when COVID was really kicking off, and we know that that's when in blue states the lockdowns began. I mean, they own this. The left owns this lock, stock, and barrel. I don't think for a moment all Democrats own it.
Yeah.
I think there's some who do, but the left owns this dirtbag, this horrible mess, lock, stock, and barrel. And conservatives don't have one thing to do with it. So next time you hear that in the media, throw your shoe at the TV or something, or better yet, turn it off and just go over to westernjournal.com and check out the news there. And with that, that's going to be it for us for today on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. After that, a little bell will pop up. You can click that bell, and that'll make sure you get notified every time we go live. So you've heard of shadow banning before. That's where you don't get notifications when your favorite publications post something. Well, click that bell, and there'll be no shadow banning as far as you're concerned. That's good stuff. Additionally, we thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading our articles. As I've said so many times, we're a small family-owned company. We're not backed by any billionaires. So we need all the help we can get in fighting back against the left, against big tech, against the Democrat Party, against godlessness and atheism and anti-American sentiment out there all over the place. We were talking about this in our company meeting the other day. We punch well above our weight class. We go at it with CNN, with MSNBC. We go at it with Fox and NBC. We will outperform them from time to time on social. We just bat way above our weight class. But we can't do it without you. So if you feel led to support us in a more direct way, you can go to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There's several ways there you can partner with us to support the journalism that we are engaged in, that we hope is making a difference and hopefully help bring America back to its roots, both Christian and political. All right, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And until that time on Friday, we'll see you later. Have a great night.